just check in. How's my body feeling?
Yeah.
What's going on with me? Am I okay? Do I feel joy, confidence, and peace, even sometimes during
Yeah.
the day? And if I don't, well, maybe that's just
That's your cue,
that's the
right?
first step. Yeah, just being aware, like, I don't actually feel great. My body doesn't feel great.
Yeah. Yeah, I could totally relate to that when we first met. My suffering got so bad though, right? Where it was
Mhm.
like I had no choice. It was like I don't know if I'm gonna make it at this
Mm.
point.
Yeah.
I don't think I can sustain feeling this way day in day out for the rest of my life.
Yeah. And I think that's such an important point because so often people come to therapy
Yeah.
when it's like, I don't know if I can go on.
Right.
It's so bad that if I don't do
Yeah.
something, I don't know if I'm going to stay alive.
Yeah.
And what can be really helpful is to be able to intervene with yourself
Mm.
before that
Yeah.
happens. It's like with anything.
Yeah.
If you notice like, oh, my tooth is a little sensitive, go to the dentist before you need a root canal.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. I'm your host, as always, Jason Thibodeau with the Mortgage Lounge. And I'm really excited today because I have a really special guest. It's somebody outside of the real estate industry, but it's somebody who is very needed specifically for, I think, the real estate industry. It's my therapist, Carissa Karner. Carissa, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Jason. It's really, really special to be here.
Yes, well, it's an honor, and I really appreciate you agreeing to do this. It's a big deal for me.
Yeah.
And for me, like a lot of my content, I would say it's 50-50. 50% of it's trying to add value and educate in this mortgage and real estate space. But it's not this, it doesn't give me as much passion as the other piece of what I like to talk about, which is, personal development, right? Maybe some vulnerability and how do we grow and how do we face the challenges that we face in the real estate industry without falling into the same old habits and defaults, especially when there's a lot of suffering involved. So when I first met Carissa over the phone and I was seeking some support, this is pre-COVID. I don't remember if it was like 2018 more or less, but what did I say to you? I said, I don't wish my body on my worst enemy.
You did say that.
Remember that?
I do. I remember you saying that.
Yeah. So, all these years later, after a lot of work, I don't feel that way anymore, which is nice. I actually do wish my body on my worst enemy to help them, because it feels pretty good right now. And there's a lot of layers as to why that is, but a big foundational component of that is the work that you and I have done together. And it has been work, hasn't it? Right? It's not like, oh, we're just chilling and hanging out and talking.
Yeah, wouldn't that be nice if change was that easy? Like,
Yeah.
poof, it's just different.
Yeah. So I did want, the industry that I'm involved in to have an opportunity to hear from you and to talk about in the context at a high level too, but also in the context of real estate and mortgage, what people can be doing, resourcing, and if they should be considering therapy in this space, because people are in fight or flight a lot in our industry, and people the scarcity rule is part of the equation. I think you mentioned in the podcast where I interviewed Jody Clegg, she mentioned a statistic that 87% of realtors fail in the first 5 years. Was it something like
I
that?
believe that's what the two of you said. Yeah, and it broke my heart.
Yeah.
I mean, just the intensity. You also talked about how hard it is in those first 3 to 5 years, but then even after that, if you succeed, then there's a whole different level of hardness.
Yes.
The intensity, the output that you have to do, the go, that you always have to be ready and on,
Yeah.
that it's so hard to even have boundaries.
Yeah.
Boundaries is such a big buzzword, but how do you have boundaries when you always have to be available for your clients? So that really stood out to me, just how intense, and knowing you too, but even thinking it more globally to your whole industry, how intense this industry is.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no salary. There's no benefits.
Yeah.
No one's going to hand it to you. You have to go and create it for yourself.
Yeah.
And you have to be pretty assertive as well, right? You have to put an ego mask on that has you going out to hunt and conquer. And you're faced with a lot of rejection and the fear of potential failure. So, for me, I had some personal trauma in my life where I knew I needed to heal and process. But in the real estate industry, I don't know that I hear much in the sense of like different associations, whether it's LA or Orange County or in the general marketplace. I don't hear a lot about, support for mental health,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Do you have any, basic advice for realtors and what they should be considering doing outside of just the physical fitness? What about mental health?
Yeah, that's such a great question. And I can see too how in the culture of this industry, it's like all of those things you just mentioned, if they put you into fight flight,
Yeah.
if you're having a hard time, you're struggling, you're feeling overwhelmed, you have to just shove it down
Mm,
and keep going.
yes.
It's not a culture where it's like, okay, let's take time and pause and check in and how are you doing? How's your body feeling?
There's a saying in our industry, you're only as good as your last transaction.
Ouch.
It's one of those things where this slate gets wiped clean every month where, oh, you had a good month. Okay, well, it's almost like that ball, right? You're rolling uphill, only
Uh-huh.
to have it come roll back down again and start all over again every single month. That's kind of the way it feels
Mm.
for a lot of people.
Mhm.
And these are even folks who have achieved pretty significant success too.
Mhm.
So it's like finding that contentment, that peace of mind where your day to day experience isn't feeling exhausting.
Yeah, and when you're just go, 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 we have such a culture of going and doing and achieving and doing more and achieving more and going bigger and bigger and bigger.
Insatiability. More is always the
Insatiability.
goal, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and so the idea of slowing down can seem, anathema to, is that the right word? It can seem like the
Yeah.
wrong way to go. Like, how could I possibly slow down? That's going to get in the way of my success. But in actuality, there have even been research studies that show with elite athletes that part of their training is to take rest days. Part of their
Recovery
training
piece,
is
yeah.
to take recovery.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when they have recovery built in, that they perform at a higher level.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea, because you think of like if somebody's training physically for some fitness goal or in sports 7 days a week, all hours of the day, they're going to burn themselves out. They're going to crash and burn.
Yeah. So why would it be any different in your professional life?
Well, and here's the thing, I can relate to it. I've done a lot of work with your help and allowing for that. And I feel like I'm in a much better place. Certainly not perfect by any means. I'm still very human. But there is a voice in the head that says you're not allowed.
Mm.
Or even if people are like, okay, it's my off day, they're still in resistance to it, right? From an energetic standpoint, they're not really truly allowing for it.
Mhm.
They're still looking at emails. They're still taking those calls and responding to those text messages. Something comes up that's a fire drill and it's a Saturday and they're barbecuing with their family and boom, that takes them right out of their state, right?
Mhm.
Now it's back to fight or flight. Cortisol is pumping. Resourcing. What do realtors do?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great question. I was thinking a lot about this too, listening to your episode with Jody about, how hard it can be. It's like, I'm not going to say like go and take an hour and go meditate because that's probably not going to be possible
Yeah.
for a lot of people who are listening.
Especially if you're not in the practice of doing that.
Yeah, and it might feel not good, then sometimes too, if you don't have a practice of slowing down and being with yourself,
Yeah.
when you slow down, all the thoughts or all the pain or all the distress that's in your body comes forward and it doesn't feel good. So I think the first step is looking at small things.
Mm.
Just even can you take 2 minutes or 30 seconds and breathe a little deeper? Can you
Conscious
take
breathing.
conscious breathing?
Yeah.
And there are lots of, you don't have to go and, again, sit down and breathe. That's wonderful if you can go and sit down and do
Yeah.
pranayama, breath work for 30 minutes. But you could also just take a minute before you get out of the car and go to your next meeting or you meet a client and just pause and just breathe. One thing I love to do is imagine that you're breathing with the ocean. So inhale as you imagine the ocean wave rolling in, and exhale as you imagine the ocean wave rolling out. Something you can do in 30 seconds or a minute that can help shift your state.
I'm already feeling more relaxed.
Yeah. Were you doing it as I was saying it?
You can see why I benefit from Carissa's work. Yeah. And the thing is, though, and I feel you on that, but there's a conditioning involved here. And for better or for worse, and this is, not just a real estate thing, but in the United States, there's a lot of drinking culture,
Yeah.
because we're talking about coping. How are people coping? I think not everyone, clearly, but a big part of coping and socializing in real estate and mortgage is alcohol,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I was an alcoholic, and I've been sober almost 3 years in October, and that was a big piece of it. And still to this day, going to a mixer or a dinner or whatever it is, someone's always got a drink in their hands.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to overcome these things, right? Because like a lot of the times, not only is somebody in a state of fight or flight when they're dealing with difficult people and difficult transactions, but they're choosing to self-medicate with things like alcohol. So like, how do we plant the seed to overcome that? Not to say there's a magic wand or anything like that, but these are the things people are doing in our industry right now to cope, as
Yeah.
opposed to these conscious breathing ideas, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing that's available. It's socially, it can feel
Acceptable.
weird to say
Not
no.
only is it socially acceptable, it's socially encouraged,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. These different types of medicating that are easy to go to in the moment can just feel more attractive, can feel easier. And it's not that it's bad or wrong, it's just a natural part of our culture and our life. But I think that first piece to any kind of change is awareness. Just taking the time, even maybe if you're listening to this right now, just take a moment and think to yourself, just check in. How's my body feeling?
Yeah.
What's going on with me? Am I okay? Do I feel joy and confidence and peace, even sometimes during
Yeah.
the day? And if I don't, well, maybe that's just the
That's your
first.
cue,
That's the
right?
first step. Yeah, just being aware, like, I don't actually feel great. My body doesn't feel great.
Yeah. Yeah, I could totally relate to that when we first met. My suffering got so bad, though, right? Where it was like, I had no choice. It was like, I don't know if I'm going to make it at this point.
Yeah.
I don't think I can sustain feeling this way day in, day out for the rest of my life.
Yeah. And I think that's such an important point because so often people come to therapy
Yeah.
when it's like, I don't know if I can go on.
Right.
It's so bad that if I don't do something, I don't know if I'm going to stay alive.
Yeah.
And what can be really helpful is to be able to intervene with yourself before that happens. It's like with anything.
Yeah.
If you notice like, oh, my tooth is a little sensitive, go to the dentist before you need a root canal.
It is a human tendency, isn't it? Because it's not just mental health. It's also the physical health piece where something's going on. Like my wife had something going on with her body. I'm not going to get into specifics, obviously, but she waited, and then it turned into what was easily a very quick outpatient procedure turned into something that was way more involved and difficult and painful. So it was a lesson that she had learned, but it's pretty common, isn't it? Right? What is it about the human experience where our default, not as all humans, but a lot of us anyways, it takes some form of like, if it's not rock bottom, something incredibly difficult in our lives before we're like, okay, we have to figure this out. I have to do something different.
Yeah, and I think your point to this cultural phenomenon,
Yeah.
in our country, not just in
Reactive, right?
reactive, but also this like it's not okay to slow down, like we talked about. But even just taking time to let yourself feel good or taking time to notice like something's not right, I'm going to tend to it. We don't really do that in our culture. That's not something that is built in how we take care of ourselves.
Yeah, we're standard. We're kind of trained, whether it's unconsciously or not. How are you doing? Fine. Hanging in there. Whatever the standard, response is, it's pretty like vulnerability is not something like I can literally physically see people become uncomfortable with me when I start going into a vulnerable place because they're just not used to going into that space and talking about those things where it's usually surface level stuff. We're small talking. I'm doing fine. You see the Lakers game, right? What's your next quarter's business plan looking like? But inside somebody's internally is slowly dying.
Yeah, we
from an
talk
emotional
about
standpoint.
we talk about what we're doing.
Yeah.
We don't talk about how we're feeling.
Right.
Yeah. And that's something, you come to therapy and when I say, how are you? That's a time when if you said fine, I'd be like, okay, what's really up? That's a time to slow down. And which I think is one of the most important things about therapy is that it's a place where you get to slow down. You have somebody there who really wants to know how you feel.
Yeah.
really wants to know how you're doing and
Yeah.
wants to,
Without the judgment too.
without the judgment.
Yeah.
Yeah, however you feel, whatever you're thinking, whatever parts of you are feel shamed about
Hmm.
that or think it's wrong for you to feel and think
Yeah.
that way, that here we're just going to make space for it.
It's sort of like training wheels a little bit to life. In
Yeah.
a little bit, right? In
Yeah.
a certain way, because like I don't think what I'm suggesting people do right now is air out all their dirty laundry when they're asked how they're doing. And, everybody that they're encountering needs to hear what's really going on inside. I'm not necessarily saying that. It's more the relationship you have with yourself and also um, who you're seeking support from, too. I think that what's nice about the therapy container
Mm-hmm.
is that's what you're supposed to be doing, and it allows you to practice, if nothing else,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Certainly, you're processing your feelings and you're healing from whatever traumas you've experienced in your life, and that's a big long journey. But like just at the very basic level, it feels like training wheels, practice,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you're not used to this, and you never know how you're gonna feel, and the other piece, it takes time, right?
It takes time.
Like you're not just
Yeah.
gonna brush your teeth once a month like we've talked about and
Yeah.
whoa, you got the pearly whites, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way.
I wish it did.
Yeah.
I wish that someone could just come into my office and I could wave a magic wand and relief.
Yeah.
But it does, it takes work, it takes effort. And I love your analogy about training wheels because it is that you're learning these things that we don't get to learn in our culture.
Yeah.
You're learning how do I check in with myself and see how I'm feeling? How do I put words to that? How do I express? I mean, so many people, you ask them how they feel, like what emotion goes with that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
You're reminding me, how hard for a long time I struggled with describing what was going on inside my body.
Mhm.
I've gotten better at it.
Yes,
You know what I
have.
mean?
Yes.
But you would ask me that in the earlier stages of our therapy relationship, and I'd be like, I don't know.
Uh-huh.
I'm not sure how to explain that.
Uh-huh.
And that's what I'm referring to is it
Yeah.
really does take time.
Yeah, we put on those training wheels and now you're like, you're on an electric bike.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But it's nice, right? When you have awareness for what you're feeling, why you're feeling it, where it's coming from in your body, at least you're not confused. When you know and have clarity around these things, it's a little bit easier to deal with the emotions, even if they're negative and heavy ones.
And sometimes even more important, when they're negative and heavy ones, those are the ones that we so often we push down. We feel bad for having them.
Yeah.
If we have like feelings of anger or judgment or resentment, those are really difficult feelings to acknowledge.
Yeah.
And so then when we push them down, it's not like they go away.
Right.
They come out in ways that, often
There's
don't
physical
feel
ailments
good.
that manifest too.
Yeah, or
you
they
know?
get in the way of our relationships.
Yeah.
That we end up, whether it's professionally or it's personally, that those things can come out in a way that harms our relationships or harms us, that we're always people pleasing, always saying yes, always, and I know there's a culture in your industry of always being available, but even sometimes that of like, I'm not allowed to have any boundaries.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting topic because in a way, you're probably, um, when you're people pleasing and have no boundaries, you're enabling bad behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're training your clients to take advantage of you,
Yes.
right?
You teach people how to treat you.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And I know that there's this fear. Maybe we can talk about this a little bit. I think the common fear in our industry is if I don't, make myself available at all hours of the day and do whatever I can at all hours of the day to solve any issue, to be the yes person, to be the solution oriented. Of course, we want to be those things, but not at the cost of our souls. Like, do you have any advice dealing with that feeling of if I don't do this, I'm going to lose this client,
Mm-hmm.
right? If I don't do this, I'm not going to be able to pay my mortgage or feed my kids, or I'm going to have to reestablish my career somehow. And that was part of the awakening and transformation that I went through because I did lose a lot of, I did, because
Yeah.
I wasn't showing up the same way that they needed me to.
Yeah.
These are some of my closest clients, but shedding that in a way was very healing and freeing for me because law of attraction, you show up a different way and you attract the people that you were supposed to be working with in the first place all along.
Yeah.
But that getting over that hump is very terrifying for people.
Oh, I can imagine because you're talking about your livelihood, you're
Yes.
talking about your security, you're talking about whether or not you can pay your own mortgage,
Right.
whether you can feed yourself or
Being
your kids.
responsible, married kids,
Yeah, yeah. So these are very real, legitimate fears
Mm,
that people have, which makes it that much harder to work with and take care of yourself
totally.
in those circumstances.
Totally.
To reference your interview with Jody again, I heard the two of you talking about the transition that you made
Yeah.
from working for yourself to then bringing on a team.
Hmm.
And that transitional stage was actually very hard because you lost money.
Hmm.
And I think that so often with those kinds of transitions, when we choose to take care of ourselves or we choose to do things
Hmm.
differently in order to create a better life for ourselves, our families, the people we care
Yeah.
about, that there often is a stage, even when you first come to therapy, there's a stage where sometimes things feel worse
Yes.
before they get
This
better.
is the hard part. The
Yeah.
barrier to entry is not easy,
Yeah.
you know? I
Hmm.
mean, gosh, all I can tell people from my own personal experience is how worth it is.
Yeah.
And people, the quote that I like to point to in this type of conversation is most business people overestimate what can be accomplished in 1 year,
Mm.
but underestimate what can be accomplished in 5, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. What a
Like,
great quote.
right? Because there's this sense of like, I want to feel good now,
Yeah.
right? I want to feel safe now.
Yeah.
I want to have certainty now.
Yeah. And if I don't, I'm going to jump ship.
Yeah. Or if I don't, I'm just going to keep doing the same things over and over again and hopefully expecting a different result, which of course we know it's not going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the scary part, because I will tell you, like, what led me to my, so to speak, awakening in this space and business was personal trauma.
Mhm.
It's weird how it happens differently for everyone, but I just knew on a personal level that I wasn't going to be able to sustain the old version of Jason Thibodeau in business, because that was like Johnny on the spot.
Mhm.
You thought like I answered my phone no matter what,
Mhm.
right? Any request was an immediate priority.
Mhm.
Anything was a hot potato, like obsessiveness, right? And that came with a certain frantic energy, and I was unable to do that anymore. Simply unable, right?
Mhm.
From personal trauma.
Yep.
So then it was like evaluating, well, how do I continue to make a living for my family,
Mhm.
knowing that I can't do that anymore, right? And that's where, I was seeking out your help
Yeah.
and doing a lot of other things to try to look at my business and say, well, I can't get out of the business. At that point, I was 15 years into the industry. I had found a great partner, and then I just knew I needed to lean into creating something that was on and beyond just Jason Thibodeau,
Mhm.
right? That
Yeah.
that had uh, such presence that I was required from a leadership standpoint and a culture standpoint and vision and creation standpoint, but I wasn't going to need to be a soldier in the trenches every day, right?
Mhm.
And that I didn't know it was going to work. You're talking to me now in 2025, and it has worked, but I'm telling you, it took, I guess I would say about 7 years. 7 years is the number of completion, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, so, I think about what do you do when you're not in that state where
Yeah.
it's like, I can do it. I can keep going. I can keep going like this. I can keep doing it.
Yeah.
Even though it feels terrible, I wake up, I'm stressed,
Yeah.
I'm not eating half the day, or I'm eating things I don't want to eat the other half the day, or, I'm just surviving on coffee. I'm not getting enough rest,
Baseline anxiety is way up
but I can
here.
keep doing it.
Yeah.
I can keep doing it. So what can you do then? I think something to consider if you're listening to this and you're thinking, well, I don't have to change. I could keep going.
Mhm.
To think maybe smaller. It doesn't have to be going from A to Z. That what would it look like just a 5% change?
Yeah.
Or even just a 2% change. Could you turn your phone off at 10 p.m.? Could you turn your phone off at just during the dinner time hour and be with your
Small changes.
family?
This sounds like the Kaizen method.
The Kaizen method.
Are you familiar with that?
I am.
Okay.
I was thinking about it, but I couldn't remember what it was called.
That's how
Yeah.
Toyota became Toyota. It's a Japanese thing,
Yeah.
right?
Uh-huh.
That's small incremental changes, because they're not the innovators, but they're the ones that make it cheaper, faster, better over time, right?
Uh-huh.
But it's like 1% changes here and there over time.
Yes.
Yeah, way more approachable,
Yes.
because it did take me 7 years.
That's right. It
you
did
know?
take you even for you, it wasn't like you were like, "I'm gonna make this change," and 2 weeks later
No,
it was done.
no.
Even though you have the capacity
Yeah,
to really ignite very intense change,
yeah.
that you are a leader, you have the ability to do that, and even for you, it took 7 years.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
certainly not graduated yet, but I'm feeling a lot better
Yeah.
about it all now,
What would you say has been the payoff for making that choice?
Oh, it's the little things, Carissa.
Well,
Waking up in the morning and looking at my phone and not seeing a stressed out, panicky email from a borrower or an agent having a meltdown on
uh-huh,
Tuesday mornings,
uh-huh.
right?
Yeah.
That right there, not getting calls when I'm with my family out to dinner or having an experience at a movie theater or something, in the middle of the movie, getting a panic
Yeah.
text where immediately you're no longer in the movie theater.
Yeah, you get to be present in your life.
Yes, I get to be present in my life.
Ah,
And it's funny is the people that are now responsible for the things that I no longer wanted to be responsible for do a much better job than I ever could have, right? Uh,
yes.
you're like
Yes.
finding people where this is their area of strength, right? Or they're at the younger stage of their career and they want to take their medicine. They want to go through that process of learning, and it's worked out way better. I was always the type in sales where I was anxious to give my margin away.
Mm-hmm.
That was like I'm a giver.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a taker.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it was really hard for me to not want to work for less margin than I think other people would work for.
Oh, yeah.
And so the hilarious part about all this is while over time it cost me some money to get to this place, I'm actually making more money now than I would have if I just stayed the one-man show because these people in my life and in my tribe are way better at selling margin than I ever would be, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's really cool. You're just like the learning to the art of delegation and finding the right people for the right roles is life-changing.
Yeah, and community and connection comes
Oh,
along with that. You don't have to do it all yourself. When
yeah.
we can lean on others, we can ask for help. I
Yeah.
mean, even going to therapy, I think that's a huge barrier. Is
Yes.
that again culturally we are taught we should just be independent and we should
Yeah.
do it all ourselves and we should pull ourselves up by our own bootstraps and all of that. And so allowing yourself to lean into community, to lean into connection, to
Yeah.
ask for help, to ask for support, those can feel difficult,
Mm.
but wow, what a difference it
Yeah.
makes.
The other piece is, why do you think this podcast studio exists right now?
Mm.
Because of this shift. I wouldn't have been able to do any of this
Yeah.
before,
Yeah.
right? I'm taking calls and I would sit at my desk from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. and not get up and couldn't pee or eat because I was so busy doing this all day long, right?
Huh.
Exhausting. And in a sense, if you're an addict and obsessive compulsive, there was some dopamine happiness around that, but it wasn't sustainable is the point,
Mhm,
know?
mhm. And sometimes it can be a way to not
Yeah.
feel.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
it
that's the other
is.
thing. You're
Yeah.
distracted. Time's going by fast. It's another form of booze almost,
Yeah.
right? It's an
Mhm.
unhealthy coping mechanism.
Mhm. And that it is a coping mechanism. I think that that's always important to consider is, things like alcohol,
Mm.
drugs, workaholic, being a workaholic,
Workaholic. Yeah.
all of that, that it is a way to deal with something that's distressing and
Yeah.
painful when you don't have any other tools,
Yeah.
or you're afraid to use another tool,
Mhm.
or you just need more support to use another tool. And that's where coming to therapy, or even just, asking for support from your partner, or asking for support from, a colleague,
Yeah.
that even that can make a huge difference,
Yeah.
that to remember that you're not in this alone and it's okay to just have that 1% change or 5% change and slow down and be curious about what do you really need?
Yeah.
Do you need to set an alarm so you can take a pee break?
Yeah.
You know?
Or reminders to do some conscious breathing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking in the car before I came in today, what are 3 things that could make a profound shift for someone that are easy to do? And it's breath, like we talked about, just taking those few breaths, breathing with the ocean for 10 seconds, body, checking in with your body, and boundaries.
Boundaries.
Yeah, that's one piece I think that is so hard that we're talking about
A
today.
really tough time with boundaries.
Especially in your industry, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Saying no means loss.
Saying no means loss, and
Mhm.
that's scary.
Yep. Yep. It really is.
And so and I think that that's the piece too, that line of when do you choose yourself?
Mm.
When do you choose like, okay, I'm going to say no because I matter too.
Yeah.
I need to be taken care of
Yeah.
too. And when do you say yes, even when maybe you'd rather say no because
That's
that
still
is the
business
right
at the end of
choice?
the day.
Yeah.
You pick and choose your battles. Yeah. So if there's anything to like look at the flip side of that coin with, it's I do still enjoy my work. Um, and I do still enjoy responding to people who are reaching out to me who need me to help them solve issues or talk to a client, but it's on my terms now. Does
Mm.
that make sense?
Oh, it
Yeah.
makes so much
Yeah.
sense. And what a difference.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I get to choose. Maybe this client is not a good fit for me, so I'll pass it along to somebody who's a better fit for.
Yeah.
And there is fulfillment in helping because, being 21 years in this industry, I do bring some value that's intangible because of that. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just better off, in my opinion, helping grow a group, a branch, a company than I am, as a one-man show sales guy slinging loans on my own.
Yes. Yes, I can so relate to that too because, I'm a business owner too. I have a private
Yeah.
practice. And if I took every single client that came my way,
Overwhelming.
it's overwhelming. And I'd be working with clients who maybe I wasn't the best therapist
Sure.
for, or
Sure.
they just didn't feel like the right fit to me.
Ooh, let's talk about that a little bit. It's funny, like I can only speak from my personal experience. You know this about me already, and I'll share it. Like I connect more easily with women,
Hmm.
just because of my childhood and my upbringing. Some of the trauma I've experienced with men,
Hmm.
and any advice out there is like, whether it's your clients or who you're seeking as a referral partner in the industry, or your therapist. Make sure you know yourself well enough to, like, I probably couldn't do this with, no offense, dudes, but I couldn't do this with a male therapist. I mean, maybe I could, but it's not natural for me. It's not in my natural grooves or alignment, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So kind of like just some basic awareness around what you're comfortable with, right? And your
Yeah,
body will tell you, by the way.
that's right.
Is your body firing, or are you feeling like at ease with the person you're communicating with?
Yes, your
Yeah.
body will tell
Yeah.
you. Your body knows. Our body has so much intelligence
Yeah.
that if we just pause for a second and
Mhm.
tune in and listen, we'll
Yes.
get a lot of great information.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's hard, isn't it? For a lot of people, me included.
And I think that sometimes the hardest part is just to let yourself take that moment.
Mm.
Even for me, I was sitting in my car. I got here a little bit early so I could sit in my car for a few minutes and just connect to myself.
Yeah.
And, I was feeling a little bit anxious and
So you were nervous?
I'm human too, Jason. And
That's
part
so
of me
great.
just didn't even want to think about it. Like,
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
ignore
you
it.
felt
Just
into it.
ignore it.
Yeah.
And so I just, okay, this is what you're going to talk about. So take a minute and just tune in and
Yeah.
notice what's going on inside. And when I did that, yeah, there was discomfort. Like it doesn't feel good. It's distress in the body.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't feel good to take that time in the beginning because it's like, oh, it's yucky. I don't want to
Yeah.
feel
You're
it.
processing the feeling.
I was processing the feeling,
Mhm.
exactly what we do in EMDR therapy.
That's a good segue, isn't it?
Yes, yes. And just to finish, so when I just noticed it and I gave that part of me a little bit of kindness and
Yeah.
care, and I just breathed in like some light into that icky feeling,
Yeah.
and it shifted. It didn't shift 100%, but it shifted about 30%.
Takes the edge off.
Took the edge off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can really relate to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're so good about helping me see that when we're in therapy. The way I begin the session with you and end, even just the way my body is presenting itself is very different. The way I'm breathing. And that's when this stuff works. Like, can we talk about EMDR therapy a little bit?
Yes, please.
Man, all I can tell you is it didn't feel natural at first for me. And it took me a bit of time to get to a point where I was feeling the power of it. And this goes to show it does take work. You do have to get your reps in. You do have to try and then not give up just because you don't feel like you're making progress at a certain point.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been doing this for 7 to 8 years at least,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I would say, yep.
And it ebbed and flowed in terms of the frequency and cadence, but never really went away. And I just, at this stage, what insights come out of EMDR therapy for me, and the processing is mind blowing. It's like, whoa, I didn't know that was there.
Yeah.
So I'll shut up. You talk about EMDR therapy a little bit.
Yeah. Well, your insights are so valuable because that's real lived experience
Yeah.
of how this style of therapy works, this method of therapy works. And EMDR, for those of you who don't know, it stands for, it's a mouthful, eye movement, desensitization, and reprocessing. And it works because we're going down to the root of what
Yeah.
the issue is. So we talked a little bit about state change, already today, like taking those breaths, checking in with your body, that thing I did before I came in where I
Yeah.
noticed and I breathed into the distress in my body. Those are state shifts, and we can do those throughout the day of just giving ourselves a little something that we need to change our state. It could even be like, I'm just going to go to the coffee machine and grab a coffee and sit and smell my coffee for 5 seconds to change my state. But with EMDR therapy, what we're actually working on is changing the root. So we're going down to what some people might say, the bottom of the root system. And we're creating change. We're bringing healing in to the very, very beginning of that. And what we find with EMDR is that when we go down to the earliest memories, if we can, so we don't always go to the earliest memories, but if we can, that it's kind of like a ripple effect.
Yeah.
That it changes everything, because those early memories, I actually had a client, I think just yesterday, was saying, I don't really understand, like, if we're going to my childhood memory, how is that helping me in the present? And a lot of people can feel that way. It doesn't really make sense. Like,
They're not connecting the dots yet.
That's past.
Yeah.
But what we're working on with this style of therapy is how the past is affecting how you feel and how you behave and what you believe about yourself and the world in the present.
Yeah, people aren't aware of that yet, though, most of the time, right?
Yeah. And in a way, you don't really have to be, even with the MDR.
It does the work for you.
You just have to trust the process.
Yeah.
If you just, you just trust the process, it does the work for you. Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine walking into a commercial airline and asking the pilot, can you just explain to me how all this is going to work first?
Yes. And then I'll fly on your plane.
Just get on the plane.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And I say that to my clients too. I don't know if I said this to you, but I try and tell my clients, it's a collaborative process.
Yeah.
That I come, like, I know how to fly the plane. I know how all the knobs and the gears and the switches work. You don't have to know all of that.
Right.
But you're the expert on you.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you bring. And so we're going to collaborate together.
Yeah.
And we're going to make this work in the way that's best for you. That it's not like, okay, this is a cookie cutter, we're always going to do X, Y, and Z every single time. But it's really about how do I support you as a whole person where you are now.
Really getting in tune in a really deep and meaningful way with who you are at the core, right, is very helpful with how you contend with life's challenges.
Absolutely.
It just is. You know what serves you now. You know what doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
I went through my learning curve of being uncomfortable with the boundaries aspect or saying no to someone. I don't feel any resistance towards those types of things anymore. They're just there now, and it's easy.
Mm-hmm.
Graceful, I'll call it. Okay?
Because
I still feel the uncomfortable piece of it as a human, right? I had a phone call with somebody who wanted me to join a mastermind, which would have me flying here and there and meeting with a bunch of dudes, talking about whose ego is bigger than the others, right?
Yeah.
You know me. And I love this man, and he's a good person, and probably he's going to bring a lot of value for those guys. And I just know I would be miserable. Mm-hmm. Absolutely miserable. Mm-hmm. I'd be sitting in my hotel room in between those miserable sessions for me, missing my family, right? Missing my children, missing my wife, missing my bed. And I'm all about growth, but I'm all about growth on my terms because I know myself really well. And I was very graceful in hearing him out, and then very kindly and professionally declining the offer, right?
Yes.
And it wasn't like, there was a moment of like having to call him back where I was like,
oh yeah. Yeah.
But then I feel it, and I pick up the phone and call and deal with it.
Yeah.
And then having that off your chest rather than, I think a lot of people in life, and this is part of who I was too, was avoidance.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, I got to return that call. Maybe I'll just text, or I'll come up with an excuse, or the dog ate my homework. Like there's constantly your mind's trying to figure out, how do I reduce this feeling and still not have to deal with it, right? Or maybe I'll just ignore it altogether.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's not a way to live, in my opinion. You could do that, but it's not going to make you feel very good.
Absolutely.
Right.
And I think that that's the benefit of therapy in general, but specifically EMDR, is that we find those stuck points. You know, that if you were somebody else and you were feeling those feelings of like, oh, I have to do this thing, or like, I can't do it, but I don't want to say no.
Yeah.
You know, I just don't even want to address this conversation because
Right.
it feels so terrible to
Yeah.
have to say no. That we look at that stuff like, okay, well, what's causing you to have that belief that you are not allowed to take care of yourself, that you're not allowed to say no to something that you actually don't want to do. And then we clear what's getting in the way so that you can move forward in a way that feels good.
Huge, right? Yeah, it's huge. You're getting to the roots.
Getting to the roots.
Where's this feeling coming from where you feel like you have to let other people run your life?
Exactly.
This will be something a lot of people in the younger space can relate to, but it's just pretty standard. When you're young and a holiday comes, if you find yourself going to 2 or 3 Thanksgivings in one day, that's your cue.
Yes. That's your red flag.
That was me, right? Oh, it's Easter. We got to go to the aunt's house. Then we got to go to my wife's side of the family, then my side of the family, and they've got to do this and that. And it wasn't fun at all, right? Like when we were kids, it was fun because you just got to be a kid. But as an adult, now all of a sudden we've created in our minds that we have to make everybody else happy rather than ourselves, right? This version of Jason on Thanksgiving, I play Frank Sinatra, I light a fire, I don't leave my home, I smoke a piece of meat. If it's not, we have a turkey competition. And if you'd like to come over, you're welcome to. You can come and go as you please, but I won't be going anywhere, right?
What a shift.
Yeah.
What a shift.
Yeah. It's just different. Like, there was some disruption in my family in the very beginning stages of me saying no to people because they're not used to it. Well, I'm sorry, what? You're not allowed to say no to me. And there was like some conflict.
Yeah.
And it was very uncomfortable. But in the long run, now I'm not getting pestered. I'm not being told I'm not good enough for not showing up. I'm not being told I have to show up and at what time. The invite still comes, and I'll tell them if I'm coming or not. And sometimes I do come, right?
Yeah. You get to choose.
I get to choose.
Yes.
But it's no longer somebody else in the driver's seat of my life.
Ooh, yeah. You taking the wheel.
And guess what? This is not just personal. It's all-encompassing, right? This bleeds out in a good way to your business, how you show up with your staff, how you show up for clients.
Yeah.
It works.
A big piece, a big theme I think that we've talked about here is this transitional thing that has to happen.
Yeah.
You know, that when you notice things are not okay, maybe they don't have to be so not okay that you're not sure if you're going to wake up the next day, but when things are just even kind of not okay, that there might be some discomfort to get to the next chapter or the next place. But from what we've talked about today, most, if not all of the time, it's worth it.
Anxiety is the dead giveaway, in my opinion. Just to like make it a little bit more recognizable for people who aren't yet good about picking up what's going on with their body.
Yeah.
We all know what anxiety is.
Well, I don't know. Maybe we don't. I don't know that everybody does, because
I'm very well acquainted with it.
Anxiety is in your body. Like a lot of people think it's an emotion, but anxiety really is body sensations. It can be racing heart. It can be constriction, clenching. Yeah. How does it show up for you? That might help people recognize if they don't know if they have anxiety.
Rapid eye movement in a different way, not EMDR. Racing heart, shortness of breath, fidgeting, like, I'm clenching with my hands and I'm picking. I'm a lot of picking. If I'm picking, I'm nervous. And that for me, and then again, not able to sleep. When my head hits the pillow, that's when I have a real problem. Right? Because all the volume goes way up. And I'm like, and then at a certain point, my body is so exhausted that it collapses into sleep at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What a way to live.
Yeah. And in the therapy world, we have a thing we call the window of tolerance.
Yes.
And it's this chart. There's a graphic kind of goes along like this. And that's the window, is when you can think and feel at the same time. So when you're in that good state, like, oh, I'm kind of in the flow. I can think, I can feel, everything's good enough. But when we go out of that window, the anxiety that you're talking about,
Yes.
that's that feeling of kind of panic or panic in the body,
Yeah.
that racing thoughts. I mean, for me, it's almost like a cold clenching is how it
Yes.
feels for
A
me.
little bit of clamminess too.
Clamminess,
Yeah.
like I don't feel like I'm landed in my body. I feel kind of like I'm outside of myself.
We can include the chart in this talk too, by the way.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I'll have you send that to me.
I will send that to you.
Cool.
Yeah, that'll be very helpful to see the visual. And then the other side of that is we can only sustain that for so long.
Mm.
It takes a lot of energy to be in hyper arousal.
Yeah.
And so our bodies at some
Hyperarousal.
point,
That's an interesting way to put it.
hyper arousal, yes. And so our bodies either have to get back in the window
Yeah.
or crash.
I crashed for years.
Mhm.
People do this for years.
And we often live in hypo is the bottom of that, the crashing place, the collapse place.
Yeah.
That's hypoarousal. And so we live in these states where we try and look like
Yeah.
we're fine. We have all kinds of ways of acting like we're okay,
Yeah.
that we present as fine. I'm
Yeah.
doing just dandy,
Mm.
but we're actually not okay.
Yeah.
We're not okay underneath the mask that we're
Right.
putting up.
Right. And it is a mask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of energy
Yeah.
to hold that mask up all
It's
the time.
exhausting. It's just exhausting.
Yeah.
I can tell you last night, I have a Facebook live interview happening at 12:30 today with an agent of ours, doing this with you this morning. Prior versions of Jason Thibodeau was not capable of this. Like, I wouldn't have slept last night. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I would have
Yep.
woken up very anxious. My mood would have been very low. So I would have been agitated with my wife. I wouldn't have been present to give my kids a hug.
Mhm.
Right.
It would bleed out.
I wouldn't have
into
enjoyed my
everything.
coffee. That's not fun. You know, so this version, while I'm not perfect and I do feel a little bit of anxiousness sometimes heading into bigger days like this, I slept like a baby last night. You know, I woke up, I wasn't even thinking about this. I was sitting at my desk in my home office having coffee, checking emails. I'm like, oh, it's 9 o'clock. I better go. Right. It's not in my head where it's like living rent free in my mind.
Yeah. And then when you get here to do it, is
Yeah.
it more enjoyable?
I love this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm on cloud nine after these experiences because I love, you know me, I love human connection.
Yeah.
I do not like small talk. I just don't.
Uh-huh.
I will do it if it's necessary. But doing deeper, meaningful conversations like this is what speaks to my heart for sure.
Yeah. You know, I was thinking as you were saying that too, that I think so often, it's just speaking to folks in your industry again, is that there is such a drive for high performance.
Yeah.
You know, there's such a drive to perform at higher levels. And we talked a little bit about how recovery is actually an important part of that. But I even think about, you know, with EMDR, we can work, someone can come to my office, we can work on peak performance. You know, we can work on performance anxiety, speaking anxiety, peak performance. But what that work looks like is actually going and seeing where all the stuck places are to performing at higher levels. And even thinking about that with you, that all this work and effort that you've put into your own healing allows you to perform at higher levels with so much more ease.
Well, these things kind of took care of themselves because we dealt with those root things.
Exactly.
Right? We didn't have to figure out how to be a peak performer.
Yeah.
That was the natural byproduct.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes, and then
Yeah.
it doesn't feel like this super intense.
Yeah. We're
I
gonna
gotta
do
do it.
That makes a lot of sense. And I hope this is landing for people. I really want it to, because I know what it feels like to suffer. Like I was out of the house at 19 years old in a brutal state of suffering until late 30s. And
It's
it
a
got
long
progressively
time.
better. Like 40s are way better for the record, in my life at least, than my 30s or 20s were. But nearly 2 decades of a lot of suffering, you know? So I don't want that for people. Part of my sense of purpose is to, especially for this real estate community, mortgage, whatever affiliate side of the industry you're on, I want them to hear this and know that there is a better way of doing it, right? Because I think a lot of times, Carissa, what is driving us to be that peak performer? We're feeling like we're not good enough. That's what's driving us. Fear. I'm not good enough. I
Yeah.
need to prove to myself that I'm good enough.
Yeah.
And that's one way to accomplish and realize success, but you're not going to enjoy the process. I promise you that.
Yes. And to know, you know, hopefully in watching this or listening to this today, you know, to have some insight that if you feel that way, you know, if you feel that drive or you feel fear that if I do it differently, things are going to fall apart, that it's actually comes from how things are programmed, how things are laid down in your past. And when you allow yourself, you give yourself the gift of taking some time to check in, to go to therapy, to go to a friend, somebody who's trusted, and you start unpacking that's what allows you to feel differently in the present, and that you can perform at high levels, be comfortable, feel good, and have incredible
Yes.
success. It doesn't have to be one or the other.
Totally. You can have it all.
You can have it all.
I will tell you, as you shed your unhealthy coping mechanisms, what the money you save by shedding those things,
Mm.
that's way more expensive than the amount of money you'll be spending on therapy.
Mm.
Just putting that out there,
Wow.
right?
Yes, that's a good
From
point.
a basic business standpoint,
Yeah.
like you're investing in yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we can go to seminars to learn about the X's and O's of how to be a successful YouTuber, and we have to do those things, right? I understand. We got to be business people too. But again, if the thing that's driving you to go to those seminars is I don't like myself and I'm not good enough, it's not going to be great.
And it's not going to be fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
No. And we want to have fun.
Well,
I'm a big
yeah.
goofball, for the record. Like, people will tell you in this office place, I'm more childlike than I am adult, and not in an inappropriate way, but just like, I liked my office culture not to feel, oh, what's going to happen, right?
Uh-huh.
Oh, is the boss going to fly off the handle today? What's his bipolar mood today, right? Like, I don't want that. I want people to feel like some joy in how silly our boss is or whatever, right? Like, let's at least have some playfulness infused in the fact that it's a stressful business.
And play is so important. You know, we
Yeah.
can't be in fight, flight, or freeze and
You're in
play.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't do both those
Yeah.
things at the same time. Like if you watch animals in nature,
Yeah.
they only play when there's no threat around.
Oh, absolutely.
And
That's a good
so
point.
if you're playing in your work culture, you know, while you're also being professional, if you're playing in your work culture, it means that you're having fun. And in those
Yeah.
moments, you're not in fight, flight.
Yeah. I've become better at not taking myself too seriously. My ego's been crushed in a good way. And you've helped me rebuild it in a good way. Yeah.
Oh.
So thank you. I appreciate that, Carissa.
Oh, it's been my honor, Jason.
Yeah.
It really has. Yeah.
Well, I guess we can be in wrap-up mode. Is there anything else you would offer up to the industry that I work in?
Well, is there anything that, just based on your own experience, your experience of growth and healing, what's one thing that you would want your audience to know?
There's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
Sense of it. Sense of hope.
There's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, it doesn't always have to feel this way.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I hope that you're really taking that in, because that's something that I see in my office every day.
Yeah.
Is that people come in and they feel hopeless, or they feel like, oh, I can't go on.
Yeah.
My
It's never
life,
going to get better.
it's never going to get better. And time again, I see it get better.
Yeah.
And it changes.
Living proof. Thank you for everything you've done for me. Thank you for being here today. I don't know, maybe one more time, let them know how to contact you.
Sure.
And then also, if you enjoyed today's episode, please like and subscribe. Trying to remember to say that. Go ahead.
So my name again is Carissa Karner, and you can find me at my website. Is the best place to reach me, CarissaKarner.com. It's CarissaKarner.com.
Right on. Nice work today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been a real treat.
That's it for us. Thank you, everybody. Bye.